Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be turning this into this. Ooh. Stay tuned, let me show you how I did it. All right, I'm gonna take this daisy wheel apart, and then I'm going to take it into the house and I'm going to soak it in some Dawn dishwashing liquid, and then I'll clean it up. This and the bracket, just like I did the bands. These are obviously pretty bad shape, so I'm going to clean them up, and then I'll bake the I'll bake a finish on them, and I'll show you all the steps involved in doing that. But I want to get these cleaned up before I do any of that, because as you can see, they are in a really bad shape. So I don't know how you can control temperature using one of these, but anyway, I'm going to clean these all up, get them taken care of, and then I'll show you how I bake a finish on them. As today's episode gets started, we're continuing on our refurbishing of the big green egg, and today we're going to talk a little bit about the daisy wheel smokestack that sits on top of the big green egg. So first of all, I have to apologize because when I shot the original footage of me cleaning this daisy wheel, somehow that footage got deleted. I'm still not exactly sure how that happened. So I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about what I did, the steps that I went through, and I'm also going to talk a little bit about baking on a finish on cast iron and what I did there and how I accomplished that. You can see this daisy wheel, look how shiny that is. Can you make that out? I think I can, yeah, there you can kind of see the shine on it. When I originally put this in the water to soak, there was about 3 inches of creosote all around the edges of this. And the hole here at the top, there was about a 1-inch hole at the top where it was allowing air through. And then the holes in the daisy wheel and the daisy wheel slider, they were almost completely covered with creosote. So it was very difficult for the big green egg in the condition that this was in to breathe. What I did was I put this into a big huge bowl full of water that had Dawn in it. At that point, I let it soak for several hours, and then as you've seen me use my wooden stick, I took that wooden stick and I just scraped the insides of it and got all of that creosote out of there. Did the same with the undersides of each one of these and cleaned out the holes. And then there was a lot, I'm going to say about 1/8 inch of creosote on the outside that I had to scrub off. As a matter of fact, you could not see the letters here at all. So the creosote was all the way across the top. You could barely make out that there was something there, but as I cleaned it up, that all came out. So anyway, the only reason I describe it that way is just so that you know the work that it took to get it cleaned up. It took about 2 hours of cleaning this thing, soaking it, emptying the water, putting new water in it. Anyway, it was quite a job. I was really surprised at how difficult it was to get it cleaned. Because I have a second one here that when I bought this egg, the gentleman that I bought it from had this second wheel already. It was in a bag, and he had never used it. It was brand new. It was in a bag. He'd never put, as far as I know, he had never put this one on the egg. And it was in great shape. I mean, like I said, it had never been used. There was nothing wrong with it. One thing that I didn't do, though, with this one is I didn't bake a finish on this one because I wanted to show you the difference between the two different tops. You can see, I don't know if the camera's picking up how the differences in color between these two. This one has it's kind of a lighter, and this one is really dark, and you can see that it's really clean looking. The surface is all clean looking on that one. So that's what baking a finish on can do for you. I don't know how many of you out there are familiar with cast iron. I've got a huge cast iron collection, and I used cast iron in a lot of cooks. I cook all my steaks in the oven on cast iron. I don't do very many out on the grill. That's probably going to change a little bit now that I can, with this green egg, I can get up to a 600, 700, 800 degrees, whatever, to sear a steak. I'm going to try it on the egg when that happens. But so I use cast iron for a lot of my cooks, chicken, pork, when I do them inside and I don't cook out on a grill. The cast iron is so versatile, you know, being able to take it from the stove, put it in the oven, or go put it on a cook grill outside. I mean, it's so versatile to be able to do that. The process for seasoning this is, and seasoning any cast iron is kind of a long process. I mean, you have to be committed to it because you're going to be spending several hours trying to get that surface baked on. There are several different kinds of oils that you can use. I've used mainly canola oil in the past to season most of my pots and pans and stuff. But today on this one I tried something a little bit different. I've been reading about flaxseed oil and, you know, the properties of flaxseed and how well it seasons cast iron. Even with flaxseed, there are several controversies about whether or not this actually bakes a good finish on, whether it chips off too easy. The great thing about flaxseed is a very high smoke point, which means that your cast iron can get really, really hot and it shouldn't affect the surface. So using flaxseed to bake on a finish, but I wanted to try it on this daisy wheel simply because I'm not going to be using this as a cooking surface. It's something that's going to be sitting on top of the big green egg. So I thought it would be a good experiment using it since I had never tried it before. And really, to be honest with you, the results were pretty fantastic. As you can see, I'll just take it apart. You know, like I said, there's a shine to this cast iron that, and you know, admittedly, you get a good shine if you use canola oil and what have you, but I was really impressed with the finish that this flaxseed provided. And the process for baking on a finish is, like I said, it's kind of a long, involved process, and so I'll just kind of walk you through a little bit of what I did on this. When I decided right after I'd gotten it cleaned up, I let it set for 24 hours to completely dry because, you know, cast iron's porous, it accepts liquids, which is why you never want to clean it with soap, because if you clean it with soap, you're going to have to season it again because it'll hold and retain those things in it. Which is another reason why you need to bake a finish on it to seal it so that it doesn't retain those types of things. But for the purposes of what I did here, I took it apart. I took the flaxseed oil, I put it on a rag, and then I wiped all that on all the surfaces of the daisy wheel. And then once all the surfaces had a good coating, I used this pan. It's just a sheet pan that has a wire, kind of like a cookie cooling plate. I put all the pieces onto the plate and I stuck this in the oven. Now, a little bit about the oven. You want to go at least 500 degrees, at least that's my experience, between 500 and 550. A lot of ovens past 550 are broil. You do not want to set to broil, and you do not want to set to self-clean. You want this to be a high heat bake, but you don't want it to be a broil. So, so what I did was I stuck this tray in my oven cold. I turned the heat on to 550 degrees. I set a timer for 15 minutes just to make sure that the oven got to 550. Once it was there, I set another timer for 1 hour. When the timer went off, I went back to the oven. I turned the oven off. I leave the door shut. At no point do you ever open the door. I leave the door shut. I let it cool down. Sometimes that takes an hour. Sometimes it takes 2 hours. It just depends upon what you've got in there. And in this case, it was about an hour and a half to cool down enough that I could touch it. So you got 2 hours and 45 minutes already vested in this. I took it out of the oven. It was cool enough to handle. Put on gloves, and I did the process of putting the flax all over the pieces again. I completely recoated them, put them back in the cold oven, cranked the oven back up to 550 degrees, set a timer for 15 minutes. Once it was up to heat temperature, set a timer for an hour, and there I went. So I repeated that process 5 times. So this has 5 baked on coats. The very last coat that I baked on, I went ahead and set the oven, and I did it for 2 hours because it was right at the end of the evening. It was like 9 o'clock when it got done, and I just left it in the oven, turned the oven off, and I didn't even look at it again until the next morning. The surface is fantastic. Each time that you add a surface, a bake on a surface, it gets shinier, and it has that ability to resist anything being absorbed into it. So I highly recommend, if you're going to be using cast iron, that you look at the YouTube videos, or you go online and research how to do it. So this is what's going to go on top of the big green egg. So that's really the process that I went through to clean this thing up and get it ready for use. I'm going to pack this one away, and then I'm going to go ahead and season this other one right here and get it ready as well, and I'll have 2 of them. Anyway, that's the update on the big green egg, doing the refurbishing. So this part is done. I'm going to put this up, and we're going to continue on. So I really appreciate you watching. If you like what I'm doing here, subscribe, and I would appreciate a big thumbs up. And thank you very much for showing up here and spending your time with me. And I look forward to seeing you again. And like I said, if you subscribe, you'll see my updates when I send them out. Y'all have a great day. I hope you're blessed. God bless you all. Have a great day. We'll talk to you again.